sexy man. How you doing? All right. Welcome to another episode of The Imaginary Boys. I am one of the two hosts, Mr. Habanero. I have my secondary sexy man. Who's a sexy man?
It's my duty to please that booty.
I don't know. I just wanted to open up with that. I was feeling it. I needed to get it out there.
I mean, this is one of the most uneven openings ever. We'll go with it.
But I did that on, like, I was just like, I'm just gonna like really I'm just gonna throw a wrench in the machine, like right from the very beginning. I wanted to do it, and here we are.
No. Like, remember that discussion that we had a couple of days ago about how we have that uniform opening, and it really kind of just like reminds people what it is that they're in for.
Yeah.
And maybe like you don't change the opening up that much.
Yeah.
Bruh. I guess.
I literally, like, I was actually planning that for a while. I hope you know. So we've been here for definitely more than an hour discussing on a whole bunch of things. And from the moment that I got on the call with Mr. Lettuce, I said to myself, you know what? When we finally do, and I wasn't expecting us to be on the call for an hour before we even started recording, but the moment that we got on the call, and I'm dead serious with you right now, Lettuce, I actually was originally planning to open up this episode by breaking out into song. I was like, all right, I have to think of like a song to just randomly start singing at the very beginning of the episode, but I couldn't think of anything specific that would really throw you off. So I figured if I just kind of like, you know, brought my mouth nice and close to the microphone. I was like, sexy man. Who's a sexy man?
I am.
So anyways, as I said, we are the Imaginary Boys. We're here for another podcast. We're ready to dish it out hot and dirty for you guys. So Lettuce had something that he wanted to go on a rant about, and I wanted to build off of it because it segues into something that is relevant to me. So I think I'm going to let Lettuce start off. So what are we ranting about today, Mr. Lettuce?
So I don't know if you know this about me, but certain people at certain times in my life would have called me an Apple fanboy.
Okay.
I may or may not have been devastated by the death of Steve Jobs.
Sure.
And
okay.
That was a lot of stuff.
I can tell this episode's going to be a banger, bro. We're starting an hour early. We flubbed the introduction, and you're apparently flubbing everything around you. You
mean an hour late?
Yeah.
And to be perfectly honest, we probably started more like 2 hours late.
Kind of. Well, I mean,
yeah, we both agreed to do it after somebody else's stream, and I feel like he kind of went on a little bit longer than usual.
Who, he did?
Yeah.
No, he normally ends. In fact, actually, he's been ending early. Like, normally he ends around like I'm trying not to get too specific with times here, but because he ended at the 40-minute mark, and he normally ends like on the dot of the hour. So he's been doing that more recently. Is ending on the 40-minute mark.
I don't know. I guess maybe he started. I don't know. It just felt like it was running a little like, because I mean we usually wait for him to finish before we start our oral sex.
Yeah. Well, it's just because I don't know, like it's sort of ritualistic. Like, I mean, I don't even give a shit about, like, he mostly talks about something I don't give a shit about, but it's just hearing the words flow out of his face. It's just something about it. I just got to be there for it. You know what I mean?
You missed a very rousing discussion about buffets.
I was listening. Oh. I was a lurky boy the entire stream.
I actually showed up. And I think that started the buffet talk.
Yeah, in fact, I definitely heard him chit-chatting with you for a little bit. So I was aware of the buffet talk. Because I think he brought up like Golden Corral a couple times, if I recall.
That was somebody else.
Oh, okay.
I brought up Shoney's because somebody brought up a breakfast bar.
Oh, I don't know Shoney's.
It's a southern thing without... So Shoney's, are you familiar with Denny's? I don't know if they have Denny's up in the northern, wilderness.
Yeah, I know Denny's. That's the first place you go if you're trying to clean out your bowels. Like that's where you want to go.
So Shoney's is like going to it. Shoney's outside of the breakfast bar.
Right.
Is kind of like going to a Denny's with crappier food.
Ooh. How is that? I mean,
no, dude. Denny's
is bad.
Denny's is a classic grease spoon. The reason why it goes through you so fast is because it's
salt
grease.
And oil.
It's salt and oil, and that stuff you're just going to pass through you.
Yeah.
But somebody had mentioned a breakfast bar, and I was like, man, I miss Shoney's breakfast bar, because locally our Shoney's shut down like in 2018 for a remodel.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's reopened. So
probably failed the health inspection, right?
I don't know, no, it was in the middle of the remodel,
right?
And then they just stopped remodeling. they're like, no, we're done here.
Yeah, it's kind of like because I've actually seen that kind of stuff happen where they realize the remodeling is too expensive and they're just like, yeah, we're now out of business. Bye.
Yeah, but this is like a national chain owned.
Oh, well,
Shoney's doesn't franchise in the same way that other fast food restaurants do.
Okay, I was gonna say, because franchises are usually like, you get a guy, he's like, I'm gonna open up a McDonald's, and it's like, well, it's a franchise, it's technically owned by the company, but you technically are the guy who says what goes and blah blah blah.
No, the McDonald's franchising method is actually really weird.
Yeah. They're a real estate company, actually.
Yeah, McDonald's is a real estate company.
Fun fact for you guys.
Yeah, you don't own your McDonald's, or you don't own the building that you don't own the building that your McDonald's goes into.
Literally the property, like the land and all of it.
The property in the building. You don't own any of that. The McDonald's Corporation does.
Yeah. The most fascinating thing I ever learned about was
you rent your restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least the building for your restaurant. You're responsible for all other costs, including buying the lease approved food.
Yeah. It's basically like renting an apartment, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's weird stuff.
It's gross.
Yeah. But they're really good at it, and they make McDonald's makes more money off of their real estate than they do make money off of their food.
Well, that's because McDonald's doesn't sell food. The franchisee sells food.
Yeah.
The franchisee is stuck with, the 5% margin fast food business.
Mm-hmm. It's weird stuff. So that Apple, huh?
So tangent.
This is
Apple.
This whole podcast and before the podcast has just been tangent after tangent after tangent.
So yeah, no, Apple. I've been known as an Apple fanboy. I've ever since the iPhone 3 the iPhone 3G came out. Mm-hmm. I've owned an iPhone.
Okay.
And through various parts of my life, I've owned MacBooks, I've owned iPads.
Right.
I've owned a Mac Mini. Currently I own an Apple TV.
Okay.
And when COVID first hit, part of my kid's birthday present was a new iPad so that he could do remote learning through the iPad, because he had inherited one of my old iPads that his mom that I gave to his mom.
Mm-hmm.
So he just kind of inherited it.
Okay.
And it wasn't doing the homeschool stuff. So I bought him that new iPad.
Okay.
So
I mean, but it sounds like that it was, for educational purposes and things like that. So it's, it makes sense.
Yeah. So like he mostly plays games on it now since schools are back to being in person here.
Right.
And it actually, his school gives him a Chromebook for other things.
God, that's so weird to me.
Yeah, I know, right? But anyway, so I've always been kind of a fan of Apple.
Sure.
However, One of the things I don't like about Apple is the Apple tax.
Oh, like in other words, the branding.
The price you pay for the logo on your device.
Yeah, the branding. That's what I figured.
The branding. And sometimes Apple just refuses to do the most simple the most simple kind of expected thing out of them that their fans and users really want.
Mm-hmm.
And they just generically refuse to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
So Apple did one of their triannual special events, and this was kind of the worst one I've experienced in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just seemed really, really incredibly tone deaf.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing they did was they announced their iPhone SE.
Okay.
Which, if you're not familiar with Apple products, the SE,
which I'm not.
Yeah, the SE is supposed to be the cheap iPhone, the cheap option iPhone. What they'll do is they'll combine the previous two generations of features of the previous two generations of iPhone.
Mm.
Scale things down, maybe not use the finer quality things that they that people are used to on like the I guess main chip model, the current main chip model.
Okay.
So
that's normal when you have like a scaled down model of something. I get it.
Yeah. The problem is like some of their omissions are just weird. Like MagSafe and wireless charging. You would think that adding these, first of all, they've increased the price by about $75.
Wait,
they've increased the starting price of the SE from like $350 to $425.
Okay, doesn't that kind of defeat the whole point of it being scaled down, though?
Well, no, because the flagship costs $1,000.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The flagship. Well, the super high pro version of the flagship is $1,000.
Sure.
The current
that's my rent for a month.
Yeah, the current flagship. I mean, no one pays that. Everybody gets their phone subsidized through their provider.
Yeah.
They end up paying like $20 more a month on their phone bill, and they get their latest greatest iPhone.
Sure.
Wonder, does anybody like buy the device without a plan? Like, is that a thing that anybody does?
I mean,
I'm sure to do that.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is, but I would assume that 90% of the users are buying a phone so that they could use it as a phone. So you need a carrier plan anyway. The problem is if you buy it, like the reason people buy the phone without the carrier, the problem is that they have to put a carrier on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because Apple's really stingy about letting you use their device without certain avenues being open.
Okay.
So what you end up doing when you buy the phone, if you buy the phone outright from Apple, without telling Apple this is an AT&T or this is a Verizon phone or a Sprint phone, there's a way that you could buy the phone from Apple for that. The problem is you got to get you've almost got to get a carrier SIM. You almost got to get a carrier SIM card to even be able to activate the phone at this point.
Mm.
So you could buy the phone outright, like if you just have $1,000 sitting in your pocket and you don't want your bill raised $25 a month. Because I mean, practically what you end up doing at the end of the term is buying the phone 1.5 times.
Yeah, it's kind of like the idea of
it's a zero APR loan.
Yeah, that's basically the idea.
It's a zero APR.
Where you're paying it in smaller amounts until you pay it off.
Yeah, it's a zero APR loan.
Yeah, I get that.
So you got that. So, like for people who just don't want to deal with, paying $1,500, have $1,000 up front, don't want to pay $1,500 for your phone over the life of it. That's the option. But anyway, the SE, like the big one there is no MagSafe. This is and wireless charging.
Mm-hmm.
It still has the notch. It doesn't have the notch. It has the full screen. It has the black bar on the top of the screen and a home button. It still has the home button, which for Touch ID, which I kind of actually wish we could get a higher model. My allergies been rough.
I'm sorry, man. I know spring is coming in. It's getting a little funky for everybody right now.
Oh no, what's messing with me right now?
Mm-hmm.
Is the temperatures literally went from 70 to 30.
Mm-hmm.
And and like a time span of like 36 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been in my area. We've been getting ice winds. It's crazy. Like
Right.
it was so warm recently, and now it's just like, welcome back to balls in your crotch cold, baby. Like, what the hell are you doing, weather?
Yeah, I thought it's like great. It's springtime.
Yeah,
I can crack open a few windows, run some fans, turn my heater off because I spent like almost $275 in gas to heat my house last month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And with gas prices rising.
Yeah.
Anyway,
my electric bills have been a little weird lately, so I know.
Yeah, I had a super large, like an unexpectedly large bill, and it was almost all heating.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing I use natural gas in my house for. But like it's been so cold, and my house is kind of old and drafty.
Right.
Like if I had the wherewithal, I could probably afford to like redo every window in my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to be perfectly honest, I would probably much rather just find someone to sell this house to and move.
Move out to the Bahamas, man.
We should start a podcasting ranch in Montana or something.
Dude, let's let's move to Hawaii together, and we'll just we'll just do our podcast on the beach.
I can't do Hawaii.
You can't?
I can't do Hawaii.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I know you want Hawaii, but the best I could do is like Montana or something.
All right. Well,
like a ranch in Montana.
A dude ranch in Montana?
Yeah, a dude ranch, because we're two dudes.
Ranching together. Perfect. It's Jadis. I'm ready for us to get rich and famous so that we can have our podcast wherever we want. That'd be great.
Yeah, no, that'd be sweet.
Patrons.
We have to get some more sponsors. we should
get Apple.
No, because I've still got more to say about Apple, and Tim Cook probably isn't going to like me after what I say. But maybe Manscaped. We both have balls.
That's true. That's true. I have balls. You have balls. Balls in the crotch, baby.
Yeah, we have the testicles.
Well,
so maybe if we could work on getting a Manscaped sponsorship, maybe that might help you get rich and famous.
Manscaped.
Yeah, but anyway,
slide into my DMs, man.
Yeah, but anyway, back to. I mean, unless an alcohol company wants to sponsor me, then
hey, I'd be down.
By all means. But the problem is they'll probably offer to like pay me in alcohol.
Sure.
And because I have a problem, I'll accept.
I'm down. We did that episode a while ago that was that did really well. That was the sexy anime pizza. Maybe we could, and it's basically one of our best going episodes. So maybe we could get Roundtable to sponsor us,
or Domino's.
Oh, I meant Domino's. Sorry, I hate Roundtable. If you're going to sponsor us, I love you, Roundtable. What am I talking about? I love you, Roundtable, and Domino's definitely, but Domino's more so. Like,
right.
You know what? Domino's and Roundtable, they can fight for our love. How about that?
We don't even have round tables down here, so like our choices are Pizza Hut, Domino's, Papa John's, and Little Caesars. Granted, I would probably love a Little Caesars sponsorship.
I don't know. The Caesars give me tummy aches. They make my tummy sad.
Okay, don't get their pepperoni.
Okay. No, I mean even just like their regular cheese pizza. You know?
Oh, okay. There's sauce. Probably you don't like something in the sauce.
Something about the oil they use. I don't know what it is, but
oh no, it's the full skim. It's the full whole milk mozzarella.
Possibly.
Which just lets off a lot of like oil. It's tasty though. Like they have the best cheese. They have the best cheese on any pizza.
Because I'm not lactose intolerant or anything like that, you know. But it's just like if you're consuming an ass load of oil, like hot oil on cheese all in one go, stomach's not going to be. Well, I mean, for me, anyways, my stomach ain't going to be too happy about that, you know.
No, I like, but you know, sometimes I get a craving for Little Caesars, and like no other pizza will do, so I have to get Little Caesars. But it's okay because Little Caesars is cheap. Get a $6 large and a $2 bag of crazy bread. That's like 2 meals for me right there.
Nice. Yeah, that's why like I don't mind getting Domino's is because I can make their pizza last for like a couple of days or so. Anyways, more Apple goodies.
More Apple goodies. So the other thing they announced was a new color for the iPhone 13.
Yay! That's what's important about Apple.
Yeah, they got forest green. You get your iPhone in forest green.
Oh my god, you know what I just realized? I have actually seen, like, once you said forest green specifically, their stupid freaking YouTube advertisement popped into my head. I keep getting ads for them on like YouTube. Like I see, and that's like the big selling point is the green color. Cause I remember like, that's the only thing I remember about the stupid ad was once you mentioned the green, I was like, oh, that's right. They keep making a big stink about that stupid green color phone that they keep wanting to sell people.
Right.
I seen it.
Yeah. And what they didn't show, which I thought they were going to show because it's about time for them to show this, is iPhone 14.
Okay.
It was conspicuously missing, but given how bad the 13 launch went, like given how bad the 12 launch went, meaning that they had to kind of rush the 13 out to fix it. Okay. I'm thinking we might not get the 14 till later in the year now. But anyway, I'm subscribed to Apple One, mostly because Apple Music is Spotify only way better. Not Spotify, I mean Pandora, but only way better.
I really like Pandora a lot.
Yeah,
I get what you mean.
Yeah, I like being able to just say, "Hey Siri, play me the song," and if it's on Apple Music, she plays it. Nice. Yeah, I like having the ability to just search by specific songs, specific artists if they're on.
Oh, is that Siri?
Yeah, that was my Siri triggering, playing me some Smashing Pumpkins. But anyway,
so good. Good old. Thank you, Siri. Thank you, Siri.
Yeah. So anyway,
what song was that, by the way? Just curious. I didn't recognize it, but you said it was Pumpkins.
It was Rocket.
What album? Wait.
Siamese Dream.
Oh, right. Okay, gotcha. I remember now. Okay.
So, like, I've subscribed to that, and it gives you Apple Arcade, which is kind of pointless.
Okay. Out of their phone app shop for games or something like that.
Yeah, but it gives you like, it gives you like it's kind of like Microsoft Game Pass only for crappy mobile games.
Okay. Isn't that like every mobile game though?
Yeah. Well, to their credit, it's the better of the crappy mobile games. Like it gives you Cut the Rope for free, and you're like, wasn't that a free to play game? And you're like, yeah, it was. but again, but it does give you access to the games that would normally be like a $2.99 game for free.
Uh-huh.
But the problem is, it's not like every $2.99 game is now free. It's a curated list, and the list is kind of small, but it's getting better over time. But it includes iCloud file sharing or file storage, and because I control me and my son's iPad, well, I have a family plan, and I have 500 gigs between our two devices. I got a terabyte between the two devices, and that's usually enough.
Mm-hmm.
Apple Music Plus, which is, as I said, it's a Pandora only, way better.
Mm-hmm.
And Apple TV Plus. Apple TV Plus has the same kind of growing pains that not Netflix. Okay, so
Hulu?
Yeah, I wanted to say Hulu's growing pains, but Hulu didn't have growing pains because it always had NBC television shows the day after they aired.
Okay.
So Hulu had something going for it.
I'm trying to think of like other streaming services that could have had more complications.
Apple TV is kind of unique because because Apple TV had to build itself off of original content.
Right. Wait, really? Like in other words, like studio owned, like kind of like what Netflix does. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that Apple did that.
Yeah, no, Apple TV is almost purely original content.
Really? Oh, I feel like I've never heard anybody ever talk about that before. That's actually kind of interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, all the Apple TV shows are original content shows. So Apple then went on to talk about the iPad Air.
Okay.
Which the iPad line is something that I've been kind of interested in because I know
we were talking about tablets, like, what was it, like last week or something? So yeah.
Yeah, you got your tablet, and I was thinking about getting one myself.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about getting an iPad because I know my work laptop is going to be a MacBook by the end of the year.
Sure.
I know that for a fact is coming because my boss wants me to have a MacBook because we have a lot more Macs in our division than we used to.
Right.
And
it's wants like a company choice to kind of uniform to.
No. It's definitely the Mac. If we had control over what some people purchased for themselves,
mm-hmm.
and we had the ability to tell them, F your Mac.
Right.
Me and my boss would have told them to F their Mac.
Interesting. Okay.
Mostly because a lot of the people who are getting Macs now are not power users, and to have a Mac on the enterprise network, it's gotten better about this, but you definitely kind of need to be a very knowledgeable Mac user to have a Mac on a Windows enterprise domain.
Okay.
But since we don't have the political power to make that policy,
mm-hmm.
and some people want Macs for one reason or another.
Maybe it's just do you think it's like favoritism, or do you think it's just more user friendly?
I think it's kind of flashy and
branding. Got it.
It's kind of well, the thing is we're getting a new influx of younger and younger leadership,
right,
in important places in our corporation, and they're allowed to kind of and their company notebook is also kind of private property,
right?
Under most circumstances, it's mostly considered private property,
right?
And they kind of and so they want that MacBook. Because there are some things that on the Mac that they can do, and it kind of is handled a little bit better on Mac than it is on a PC, like the software GarageBand. If you're doing any kind of music education, which a lot of these people do, nothing like GarageBand's a really great tool to have in a music program.
Sure.
Presentations. There's a software package called Pro Presenter. It works way better on a Mac than it does on a PC. And it's a package that a lot of people use.
Okay.
So those are the kind of logistic reasons why people choose, but there's a lot of it that just kind of
just some people that want it because it's a Mac, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically saying, like, it's a combination of there are legitimate business and logistic reasons why it's appropriate, but also it's a Mac, and that's why some people want it as well.
They get to go to Starbucks and pop out their Mac, and they look all bored.
You goddamn filthy, dirty Starbucks hipsters.
Whatever, said
the hipster.
Yeah. So the reason, so I know I'm getting this MacBook.
Sure.
One of the things that Apple does pretty well is blends in like all the items in their ecosystem. Your iPhone, your iPad, and your MacBook all kind of share the same iCloud ecosystem.
Okay.
And things sync through pretty seamlessly. One of the things that you can use an iPad for is a secondary monitor, like a portable secondary monitor for MacBook.
Oh, I guess that makes sense, but that's kind of cool. I never would have thought to use it that way, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's called Sidecar, and it's really good. I no longer, because my position has become mostly work from home.
Lucky.
Well, I'm good at what I do.
Okay, there you go.
Ladies. Where was I? Okay, so I don't actually have an office anywhere.
Right. Well, your home is your office, right?
Yeah, my home is my office.
Yeah. I work out at a home.
Yeah, I work out at home. I could technically dock my iPad to my TV.
Right.
And then,
that's cool.
And then handle it that way. But let's say that there's days I just don't feel like getting out of bed.
Right. You told me about this.
Yeah, let's just say there's some days I just don't feel like getting out of bed.
Okay.
I could just grab my MacBook, grab my iPad, and if I need a secondary screen, I'll turn on Sidecar and have kind of a battle station in my bed.
God, that's so
granted, now like the MacBook is a 14-inch screen and the iPad, if I get the iPad Pro, is a 12-inch screen.
I just think that's cool because it's kind of like basically what you're saying to me is it's like you're carrying your office to be wherever you want it to be, which is kind of rad. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
so like, let's say I'm traveling.
It's kind of a burden because it means you can constantly work whenever, and therefore you're probably always on call for something like that. But at the same time, it's kind of nice that you can just have it and you're like, oh, like, here I am right here. I need to work. All right, I'm good to go. I have everything I need already.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
If for some strange reason I'm on the road and I need something that was going to require me to have two screens, I could pull over, whip out my iPhone, connect to my personal hotspot,
right?
Grab my MacBook and sidecar my iPad to my MacBook. All of this is inside one bag, mind you. And then I can take care of whatever it is I need to take care of, and then just throw everything back in the bag and continue driving.
Nice.
So yeah, that was my thought.
Honestly, through this whole conversation, it sounds like you're still a Mac fanboy. That's because, I mean, a lot of this sounds pretty good.
No. I am a Mac fanboy.
I mean, I don't blame you. It sounds pretty convenient, to be totally honest.
So the big thing is that they refreshed the MacBook, the iPad Air, to include the same M1 chip that is in their low-end laptops.
Okay.
It used to be only the iPad Pro had the M1. So in the iPad line, you have the iPad Pro, the iPad Air, the iPad, and the iPad Mini.
Okay.
The iPad Mini is just a phablet.
I was about to say, is it just basically like an iPhone?
It's like a 9-inch. It's a 9-inch tablet. Like I've the
At what size do you distinguish the difference between an iPhone and a tablet?
Well, I mean, like the iPad, like the iPhone Max. I don't know if they still use the iPhone Max thing. I think it's called like the XR or something. It used to be like a 9-inch iPhone, and you had like the 10-inch. You had like the 9-inch iPad Mini, and I'm like, they're kind of indistinguishable.
Mm-hmm.
But so the iPad Air, which granted, I don't even know if they still have like the regular iPad.
Okay.
I think it's the iPad Pro and the iPad Air. I believe the iPad is still around.
Okay.
Even though it hasn't been refreshed in forever,
Right.
because it's using like a 2-generation old the A chip, the ones that's in the iPhones.
Okay.
It's using the latest refresh is using the A13, and I believe they're up to the A15 on the iPhone.
Okay. I'll be honest, like all the stuff you're talking about is really, really fresh to me, because it's not boring, because I think that this is actually interesting learning about this.
Oh yeah, no. This is, remember at the beginning when you said
keep up with Apple.
Yeah. Remember when I said when we started that I was going to get into some technology stuff, and you were like, "Great, you can teach me about technology stuff."
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, sit around and listen.
Yeah, man. I just don't want you to think that I'm disinterested. I'm literally learning.
No.
I just don't know much about Apple. Is all. That's all.
No, and your listeners probably don't know that much either. So they probably know. So
folks, this is why it's nice that my co-host is basically a programmer.
Yep, and a mother.
Bruh. Indubitably.
So the iPad Mini was refreshed about the same time the iPhone 13 came out, so it also has the A15 chip.
Mm-hmm.
The iPad Air had an A14, and then got refreshed to use the M1 chip like the iPad Pro.
Okay.
So basically, the iPad, you have the Mini, which is just a phablet, and you have the iPads people buy, the Air and the Pro. One of my things that I do not like about Apple,
okay,
is they have two devices that kind of fill the same area. That kind of fill the same void. You have the iPad and you have the MacBook Air. Up until the M1 chip came out, the MacBook Air was basically an iPad with a built-in keyboard and no touchscreen. For all the good that the iPad Air, that the MacBook Air could do.
A built-in keyboard?
It's a thin and light notebook. It has a built-in keyboard.
Oh, okay. I was like imagining a tablet that had a keyboard on the front side of it on the screen or something. I was
no. I'm talking about the MacBook Air. I'm talking about Apple's thin and low-end thin and light notebook.
Okay.
Which, before Apple started designing their own processors, was based on Intel's core processors, and did a really terrible job with them, because in a thin and light notebook like the ones that the iPad, like the MacBook Air is, you couldn't really cool them very well.
Like they would overheat.
They would overheat and throttle constantly.
Interesting. Okay.
Now the MacBook Air is actually reasonable. But anyway,
when you say reasonable, do you mean like price, or are you talking about like how it's designed?
I'm talking about functionality.
Okay, got it.
The iPad Air, the MacBook Air, when it was originally released, there was a series of like very small laptops called netbooks. I don't know if you remember these, like 9-inch notebooks being made like 8 by Acer, and
yeah, I think I remember those. They used to have like the little red dot mouse, right?
I mean, they all had, everything had a nipple back then. I mean, some laptops still have that nipple.
Do they still make laptops like that?
Yeah, they still have laptops with a nipple between the H and J key.
Wow.
No, it's between the G and the H key. It's actually off the home row.
Those just feel like relics to me at this point. But
no, I believe my work notebook still has a nipple on it.
Yeah, those red nipples are iconic, man. They were like the iconic, like, this is definitely a notebook kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, just touchpads have gotten so much better.
Or like the super old school fingerprint scanners. You remember those too?
Oh, the ones the ones that you have to slide over?
Yeah, and they look like a little piece of like glass and like a small little, like, how would you explain that? Like it was like a wedge shape kind of.
The little biometric scanners. Yeah, my working laptop has one of those, and it's not that old. It's only like 4 years old.
Yeah, they never work. They never work.
No. So anyway, originally the MacBook Air was sold as a Mac. But what it really was Apple's version of a netbook. Okay. Only it cost twice as much as any other netbook. Because, Apple logo.
Yeah, man, branding.
Because of branding. That dare Apple tax. My complaint about the iPad, you now have the iPad Pro, which pairs incredibly well with what's known as the Magic Keyboard, which is a magnetic cover with a pretty halfway decent stand on the with a pretty decent stand and a fairly functional keyboard on the bottom of it. So it looks pretty decent.
Is it like a rollout keyboard?
No.
I'm trying to like imagine what this looks like.
So you've got a case, a kind of like a faux leather pleather case.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a taco shell around your tablet when it's in the bag.
Okay.
You take it out of the bag and you flip the thing down, and there's a keyboard on the face that touch the screen.
Okay.
And it uses MagSafe to kind of stay on your to keep your iPad up. So basically what it does is it turns your tablet into a 12-inch laptop.
Okay.
And because your iPad Pro was 12 inches, and it's basically had the internals, kind of cut down internals of the MacBook of the 13-inch MacBook.
Okay.
People were saying, like, since for the longest time, people have said, either give MacBook Air a touchscreen or put Mac OS on an iPad.
Okay, I think I understand now. That's the idea. Is basically they want the touch.
They're Mac OS has some touch has some touch capabilities because it activates to a trackpad.
Right.
It's very easy to translate a pointer location to just a tap on the screen with the same kind, and then use the same gesture-based controls that people have been using on trackpads forever.
Mm-hmm.
To be perfectly honest, the iPad touchscreen has had those gesture controls for a while. So
is it like I'm wondering because is it like a money thing? Like, is it that because we were talking about earlier?
No. Actually, Apple gives away macOS for free.
Well, I mean, like the implementing the touch screen onto the MacBook. Like, is it that they don't want to do it because the cost isn't as efficient as like?
Okay, you're probably right there. That's probably why they don't do it. And to be perfectly honest, laptops with touchscreens are kind of wonky.
Yeah.
Like Steve Jobs at one point said, why do I want to like something that's on a surface that's on a hinge, first of all? Why do I want to be responsible for touching it?
Right.
When people are using their fingers on their tablet, it's down supported by their hands and they're using this thing. Right. They're using their finger. Which he makes a point there. It's a engineering nightmare. The problem is you could probably like reinforce the hinge a little bit to help with the, you touch your MacBook Air and it kind of tips over.
I vaguely recall seeing a notebook of some sort. Now I can't remember what brand it was. It might have been Mac or something else, but it's like a it's a notebook, but the idea was that you could, and it would be like really flat, and you could choose to flip the keyboard to the back side of the notebook and just use it as a tablet. Is that the same idea?
It's a concept called a convertible.
Because I think that's a cool idea.
HP makes a lot of those. I think Dell has their own convertible as well.
Yeah.
Asus I think has a convertible. So that's basically turning your Windows laptop into a tablet.
Right.
And Windows 10 has a tablet mode. It sucks.
That's how Mac should do their notebooks if they don't already. Am I weird in thinking that?
Kinda.
Okay.
Nobody really likes. I don't know anybody who has a convertible who functions in tablet mode unless a specific application requires them to be in tablet mode.
Well, wasn't that the whole point that you were making was that people are wondering why not just enable these notebooks to have the touch screen, right? So, I mean, if they were just going to make like a new tablet or a new notebook,
an Apple quality touchscreen would probably raise the price by about $200, to be perfectly honest.
But isn't the whole point is that people are like willing to pay that price, like if not just for the branding, but if for the actual technology itself?
Maybe, but Apple is very adverse, has always been very adverse to just flood the market with devices.
I mean, yeah, sure.
I mean, no. Look at it objectively.
No, I get it. It's like this isn't the first company I've seen kind of try to do that. Like we just throw enough, the idea of let's throw like a bunch of spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. If we throw enough products out, they're going to, somebody's going to buy them and something's going to be more popular. And that's what we'll make more of,
I mean, Apple doesn't even make iPods anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's because they're irrelevant.
Yeah,
just like most MP3 players.
The iPod was basically killed by the iPhone.
What is it? TV killed the radio star.
Yeah. so Apple has basically three-ish device types.
Sure.
They have the Mac, the iPad, the iPhone, and then you have basically the HomeKit devices.
Okay.
Which is your Apple TVs and your HomePods. But on the Mac line, they only have 2 laptops because they discontinued MacBook straight. They just have MacBook Air and MacBook Pro, which is why I think at some point the iPad's just going to become iPad Air or iPad Pro.
MacBook straight? Is that
okay? So they used to have MacBook Air, MacBook, and MacBook Pro.
okay?
They don't sell MacBooks anymore. It's either a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air.
Okay.
They have one version of the iMac now, the 24-inch. They've discontinued the 27.
Mm-hmm.
They have one consumer-grade desktop computer, and then they have a almost server-grade workstation computer. They've also announced a middle of the ground workstation computer, which I'll get to later because it's kind of funny.
Okay.
But outside of that, like they only really ever they only really support maybe 2 to 3 generations of iPhone, and then they have the SE line. So yeah, they only have like 2 or 3 generations of the flagship iPhone, and then they have the iPhone SE.
Mm-hmm.
And for the iPads, they have the four devices, but I'm pretty sure they're going to trim that down to 3 before we know it.
Okay.
So you're looking at a technology, a consumer electronics technology company that only sells 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 devices.
Okay.
That's incredibly small when compared to Dell, when compared to HP, when compared to
because I was going to say there's a variety of different kinds of computers out there that a lot of those other computer companies are putting out on a regular basis. That 13 does seem pretty small.
Yeah, 13 devices. Now, if you're looking at just computer companies, like computer device companies, not computer, phone, tablet. Like let's look at HP. I could name off the top of my head 6 different model brands inside the HP line on just laptops alone.
Right.
And that's not including like the 6 different desktops they have. Dell, same deal.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of those SKUs have, in each one of those brands have like 3 SKUs in them.
Okay.
So Apple actually is very adverse to trying tries to limit the amount of devices that they can sell you that they're trying to sell you, because they don't want to run into consumer fatigue.
Right. Can I, with hearing all this, can I give you a weird perspective that I'm having right now while listening to all this?
Sure.
I'll just be really quick about it, and you can let me know what you think. The more I hear about this, the more I feel like, is it just me, or does it seem like that, like, as you explain this, Apple is like a video game console company almost? Like, it feels like that. Like, not in the sense of like they're making video games, but like how they design and sell their hardware makes me think of like how Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft sells their game systems. You know what I mean?
Elaborate.
Like, it's just, like they have only a few iconic devices, and they're being sold based on, a lot of it is based on their branding. And I mean, yes, they're technologically capable, but they're like popularized, you have your Sony fanboys, your PlayStation fanboys, you have your Xbox, Microsoft fanboys, you have your Nintendo fanboys. And it's like, I feel like when it comes to like Dell and stuff like that, like those kind of computer companies, it's not so much fanboys, because a lot of the time it's just grouped into like a PC kind of like PC master race, you know what I mean? But like, then I think about Mac, and I think it's more individualized based on popularity, kind of how like Nintendo is, or how Xbox is, or how PlayStation is. Like, it's not about the games, it's about like specifically the consoles and like how dedicated people are to using those specific kinds of technologies and supporting that specific company.
You're kind of
despite
right.
the games. You know what I mean?
You're kind of right. The analogy is kind of sticky, but you're mostly right. Like, if
that's just the feeling I'm getting. You know,
if Nintendo gave you 10 different Switches every year, you would run into a concept called consumer fatigue.
Yeah, sure.
Like, Nintendo still runs into it every once in a while because you have the Nintendo fans who will buy every variant of the same system.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, they just recently released the new Switch Lite or whatever, and that was a big deal.
OLED, the Switch OLED?
Yeah, the OLED, sorry.
Yeah, you have people who will buy the Switch Revision 2, the Switch OLED, the Switch Lite, and, you know, every revision, every, like, special edition revision.
Yeah.
You have people who will do that.
Got to get the one with Link printed on it or Pikachu printed on it, right?
Absolutely. No.
Branding, dude, branding.
Right. So Apple is very cognizant of if every year their iPhone line, if every year their iPhone line had 7 different SKUs in it, like Samsung does. Samsung, like, every year sells like 7 different phones in order to catch a certain price range. Like, because they have a more deeper spectrum in their price range array. Like, they have the $1,000 phone and they have the $500 phone.
Sure.
They also have a $800 phone and a $600 phone.
Yep.
Whereas Apple has the $1,000 phone, the $800 phone, and every 2 or 3 years they kind of peel things into a $400 phone.
Okay.
Well, $430 now. That's kind of like, so that's Apple doesn't give you, like, the biggest knock on Apple, and it's one of the things I always knock on Apple for, is that they don't necessarily cater to the person who would be looking to buy the $300 iPhone every year. Like Samsung has a $300 phone.
Right.
Apple doesn't. Apple has a thing where they're like, we could release this.
Is it kind of like the idea that they're trying to apply to multiple markets, but it's not their target audience?
No. Apple is a design first company.
Okay.
It always has been. Apple has their design vision. They can compromise on that design vision. I think I said that properly twice.
You're good, man.
They can compromise on it. However, at some point, the device that you're holding doesn't feel like an iPhone. They want the iPhone Pro or the iPhone Pro 13 or the iPhone Pro or the iPhone Pro XL and the iPhone 13 to, in the hand, feel indistinguishable.
Okay, I get that. Like, they want kind of like uniformity between their devices, essentially. Yeah.
The iPhone they want the iPhone Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 to feel similar. I guess they're calling the small ones the minis now. Whatever. Their naming nomenclature has always been kind of weird.
Remember the iPod Nano?
Nano. Like I hate when things call themselves the Nano. Nano. It's just a really weird word. And this is one of the few times I'm not drunk while recording.
Nano is short for something, isn't it? Isn't it like it's like a shortened version of a word that means like really small, right? Nanomolecular, is nanomolecular a thing? I think that is. Nanobots, nanomachines, nanomolecular.
It's just a prefix that means 1/1 billionth.
Right. Let me tell you, that
That's-
nano iPod, that thing was not 1/1 billionth.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Sorry, I just thought
Yeah,
that was
what
funny.
that's what nano means. It's 1/1 billionth.
So I think nanomolecular is a word, right? I kind of want to look that up now.
I don't know.
It's okay. You can move on. I'm sorry.
Okay, so they want every iPod, they want every iPhone, whether you buy the Pro or the normal, whether you buy the mini or the normal.
Nanomolecular is a word. Okay, I was right. Sorry.
Yeah, like it's 1/1 billionth of a molecule,
Yep.
whatever.
Sorry.
So
I just had to know. I needed to know.
I understand. If you have 4 iPhone 13s, you have the Pro, you have the normal and the Pro, and the mini of each version.
Right.
They want, outside of the normal size difference, the size difference between the normal and the mini, they want that to feel in the hand similar.
Okay.
They want you to pick up. They want you to be able to pick up an. They want you to go from an iPhone 12 to an iPhone 13 because you're a good consumer. Consume.
Yeah.
And they want to be able to, for you to pick up that phone and go, this is indistinguishably designed Apple.
Right. Well, I mean, with that kind of uniformity, like the only thing that I would be worried about is the lack of feeling like there's progress between each upgrade. You know what I mean?
Well,
I mean, when you know the technical specs like you do, obviously.
Mr. Man, have I got a story for you?
All right.
Yeah, it's all just a new processor. Like each generation is a new processor.
All right. I mean, that makes sense. I get that.
The iPhone 12 used the A14. The iPhone 13 uses the A15.
And so on and so on.
It's just the processor. It is. Sometimes they do like large design changes. The last time they did like a really large design change, and I was actually down because it was the iPhone 12, I believe, or was it the 11? They went back to the glass back, glass front, milled aluminum band around the side.
Are they? Wait a minute. Oh, they have glass on the front and the back. Like the
they have glass in the back. It's not a display,
right? But it is like encased in glass.
It's encased in glass and aluminum.
I did not know. I legit I just assumed it was like a really high quality plastic or something.
It was it went from so the glass sandwich was in the 4th gen and the 5th gen, and then from like iPhone 6 forward they went into a smoothly curved plastic in the back.
Right. I'd be so scared to drop that thing if that was the case.
Well, I mean, who uses a smartphone without a case?
True. I mean, yeah, true.
like who doesn't have their smartphone in some kind of case to begin with?
Psychopath.
I even have I have a glass screen protector.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I think that's just minimum use for everybody. Glass screen protector in a case, in a full body case. That's just the way things go now. But no, the thing is like the curved design never felt right in my hand, but the glass sandwich, I don't know, it just felt like sturdy. It felt solid. It was weighty.
I was about to say it would probably be heavier if it's encased in glass.
It was weightier.
Yeah.
Because going from the iPhone 5 to the iPhone 6, Actually, I think I skipped 6 and went to 7. But going from that, the iPhone definitely felt more like a toy.
The plastic one, you mean?
The plastic ones, yeah.
Right.
Just felt more like a toy. But anyway,
they're all toys, my friend. They're toys for adults. They're all video game systems.
You're not. I mean, you're not lying.
Big boy toys.
So my complaint about the iPad is we got two device SKUs now, the iPad Pro and the iPad Air, using the same processor Mac OS is using.
Okay.
The M1 Mac. Why
is that like a generation behind or a few generations behind? What,
the processor? No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Got it.
The current MacBooks are using M1. They're using I guess they're using the M1 Pro and the M1 Max.
Is it that like one version is cheaper than the other, so it doesn't make sense that they would make the processor like the same across all three despite the price difference?
Yeah, you'd think that.
Okay, that's what I thought was going on. Okay.
You'd be wrong.
Okay.
The M1 that's in the MacBook Air, or that's in the MacBook Air, is the same M1 that's in the iPad Pro. I think the same one that's in the iPad Pro. The only difference is one of the cores is disabled. So the processor in these the iPad Pro and the iPad Air can run Mac OS because it's running the Mac OS on the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro.
Mm-hmm.
They refuse to put they've refused to get rid of iOS. Not iOS, iPad OS. For like the past year, they've refused to get rid of iPad OS and then just tie everything into Mac OS.
Is it because it's out of date, or it's like not like, is it not optimized for the devices that they're putting on it or something?
This is Apple thinking that they know better than their consumers.
Well, I mean, but that's always been apparent through the design of their devices in the first place.
Yeah, but this is one of those things where they really probably should listen to the users a bit more.
All right.
It would cost them nothing to implement a touchscreen version of Mac OS. They could have it up. They could have it up in 2 months.
Yeah.
And the thing is like they're like, well,
this goes back to the concept of the books, the MacBooks having a touchscreen, right? That
was kind of like that one. The thing is like they could be like, so
is the hardware designed for it though?
What hardware?
Well, like, because you're saying that it would be easier for them to just make the software to
put Mac OS on an iPad.
Oh, okay. I think I understand. So you're saying instead of using the iPad OS, they want to use the iMac OS, which is for the
MacBooks.
The MacBooks. So they want to put that software onto the tablet, but the problem is that the tablet can't support that software because it doesn't have capabilities for touchscreen, right?
No, because we don't have a way to hack it in. Here's the funny thing: that iPad, the Magic Keyboard for iPad, has a touchpad. Has a touchpad on it. You could literally sell and then to be perfectly honest, almost everybody who buys an iPad buys a Magic Keyboard.
Okay.
Because it's actually pretty good as far as keyboards go, as far as keyboard cases go.
Right.
If you don't like the touchpad,
that's the magnetic taco shell case thing you were talking about earlier,
that was the magnetic taco shell case thing I was talking about earlier.
Gotcha. Okay.
If you don't like the iPad, if you don't like the touchpad, the iPad has a USB-C port. You can put a USB-C to USB-A dongle on there and plug in a mouse. iPad. They went in and put mouse support on the iPad OS because they also wanted to support the touchpad on the Magic Keyboard. But they have mouse support on the iPad OS. They went through the trouble of adding mouse support to a device that is primarily touchscreen, but they won't consider putting the Mac OS on the iPad.
Right.
Because they think users are too stupid to know what they want. Granted, the iPad OS is an OS designed strictly for touchscreen and stuff like that.
Well, so the thing is
so Apple believes in their design like Apple. This is one of the things that like I'm going to rant about.
No,
being a member of the cult of Apple. One of the things that has always bugged me about Apple is that users will ask for some of the easiest things in the world. And they're like, this doesn't follow our design philosophy, so you can go yourself.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm like, why? So the second somebody hacks the iPad or like cracks the iPad,
yeah,
because jailbreaks the iPad, because we have a USB-C port, we should be able to jailbreak it pretty soon.
Sure.
Like the first thing people are going to try to do is they're going to try to install macOS on. They're going to try to install macOS on an iPad because Apple technically gives you macOS for free.
Mm-hmm.
The license agreement on the macOS on macOS says you can only use it on Apple Macintosh computers,
right?
Which doesn't stop people from putting it on PCs. But anyway, I just like it's so close. Like the iPad is so close to being a laptop replacement.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I can think of is the iPad would cannibalize the MacBook Air.
So you think that it could be that they're worried about the MacBook losing its relevancy, and thus they would lose a line of products that they would otherwise make money on?
No, just the MacBook Air. The MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Does a lot, like their version of the M1 isn't as slimmed down as the version of the M1 that's in the MacBook Air and the iPad.
Okay.
Because the MacBook Air and the iPad, I believe, are stuck to a 6-core. Let me double check to make sure that I'm remembering that correctly.
No worries.
I'm just trying not to take up too much of your time here.
Oh, it's fine. I'm learning a lot. Like I'm genuinely interested in this. Like, I mean, I just don't have a lot to say because I literally don't know very much about it. That's all it is. Like, I do like learning things about this. I mean, I grew up with my father who's a programmer, and he would just go on insanely long rants and conversations about this kind of stuff. And, you know, he'd be worried sometimes about boring me. And I'm like, no, I'm learning. Like, and that's why I keep like, listening to, what's up?
Oh,
I was just going to say, while I'm listening to you, I keep trying to engage like my thoughts, you know, to you about what you're talking about, to make sure, not only because I am genuinely interested, but also to make sure that you know that I'm genuinely interested. Like I'm trying to pay attention and learn something. But what are you freaking out about over there, buddy? You okay?
Yeah, I'm looking for tech specs.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm looking for actual tech specs.
No worries.
No, okay. So the 13-inch MacBook Pro and the iMac and the MacBook Air have the same specs. Have the like they're the same. They're the same processor.
Right.
Oh, the MacBook. Let's iPad Pro. Let's tech spec that one. See if it's chimneyed down any. Oh my God, it's the same. It is literally the same device. The iPad Pro, the 13-inch MacBook Pro, and the MacBook Air all use the same 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, 16-core neural engine version of the M1.
Is it the same kind of thing where they're like turning off like some of the cores for each different version?
No. I thought one of them was a 6-core. I thought one of them was a neutered 6-core.
Weird. So they're just, so they're all running the same hardware?
They're all running essentially the same processor.
But they're different in price.
Yes.
Okay, how do they get away with that?
The MacBook Pro 13 is $1,299.
I assume there's some kind of features or hardware or software or something that's separating them, right?
So the MacBook Pro uses a better display.
Okay.
The MacBook Air uses a lesser display.
Okay.
So there's
some things that separate them.
So the $300 is the display. The low end MacBook Air, actually is the only thing that has something disabled. It loses one of the GPU cores. The iPad Pro has the 8 CPU cores and the 8 GPU cores.
Huh.
Yeah, dumb. Anyway, typically with devices like the MacBook Air and the iPad, you have a smaller SSD.
Okay.
The MacBook Pro typically comes with 512 gigabytes, whereas the MacBook Air starts at 256 gigabytes on the SSD, and the iPad starts at like 64 gigs or something low and really weird. Why do you even offer this?
I have flash drives larger than that.
Let's see here. Oh, no. Okay, my bad. The MacBook, the iPad Pro only goes as low as 128.
Okay. 128 gig?
Yeah, 128 gig.
Okay. That's reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, with everything going to the cloud these days, and cloud storage and stuff like that, on a device like a tablet, that's actually not bad. Like I probably still wouldn't go under 512, but I could see why some people would go 128.
Yeah.
I think my iPhone even has 256.
My video storage flash drive is 128 gigs. That's where I store all the old episodes of The Imaginary Boys.
Yeah,
they take up too much space.
But anyway, so you have these 3 devices, and the 12.9 inch iPad Pro, which is basically 13 inch, would be a great laptop replacement if it was running full Mac OS, right. But it's running iPad OS, so there's some things it cannot do.
Like it's kind of dumbed down, basically.
In a way, there's just some tasks that you can't do, like side loading apps.
Right, and all, yeah.
Like you can't just randomly download an app from the internet on an iPad.
Yeah.
You have to go through the Apple Store. But I mean, that's not nothing.
Because we were talking about jailbreaking earlier, like, what do you think is, because like, so I'm used to like stuff involved with like, you know, when I talk with my dad about software and stuff like that, like his bread and butter is like Linux, right? And one of his things is he's all about open source. And right. It's like, if you need something made that doesn't already exist, like somebody's probably developed it for Linux because it's open source. So, I mean, if you were willing to void the warranty and jailbreak, you know, something like that, like, you know, the iPad or whatever, do you think that there's somebody out there who's probably already written the touchscreen compatibility for Mac OS or whatever? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it would probably be warranty voiding, and that might be kind of sketchy, especially considering way earlier you were talking about how this is all business related, so you might not want to jailbreak something like that. But
I mean, touchscreen drivers
yeah,
for Mac OS,
mm-hmm.
I'm sure they actually do exist.
Yeah,
because some people run a Mac Mini as a point of sale thing instead of just basing it off of an iPad, which a lot of people just use an iPad at this point. There's some pretty good point of sale stuff for iPads.
right.
I mean, get an iPad and a Square reader.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, point of sale system. So I'm pretty sure that there is somebody who has designed touchpad or touchscreen drivers for Mac OS to drive a third-party touchscreen. It's just a matter of and to be perfectly honest, it wouldn't surprise me if Mac OS had that baked into the system. You plug in a touchscreen. You plug in a touchscreen through the DisplayPort. If it's DisplayPort 2 capable, Apple then reads the device, says, "Hey, this is a touchscreen. Here's the touchpad drivers." I wouldn't be surprised. I just haven't had the reason to check.
Right.
I haven't actually used Sidecar yet. I know it exists, and I kind of want to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the things that they could do is that they could turn Sidecar, like the way Apple would justify putting touchscreen support generically in macOS,
Mm-hmm.
is if you could use Sidecar as a mirrored screen, and you had touchpad control over that. That is something I could see Apple putting into a future version of macOS.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, just put macOS on an iPad. But anyway, one last thing Apple announced was their new computer.
Okay.
It's called the Mac Studio. And have you seen what a Mac Mini looks like?
I don't recall it.
Okay, so a Mac Mini is this cute little itty bitty thing.
Nano.
Nano. No. It's basically a 7 by 7 inch by 7 inch square. No, I don't even think it's that big. Okay, so it is. Oh no, it is. It's 7 inches by 7.5 by 7.5 by 1.5 inches high. It's this little box with rounded corner with some rounded corners and stuff, and it's cute. It's nano. So Apple announced their new computer for prosumers, and they're calling it the Mac Studio. It's a Mac Mini,
right?
That is, I want to say about 3 inch. That's basically the same 7 by 7, except for it's also 3 inches tall. Oh, almost 4. It's the same 7 by 7 design, width and depth, but it's 4 inches tall. And the last 2.5 inches of that height is purely the cooler.
Can you DM me a picture of it if you have one? Because I'm trying to imagine what this thing looks like, or I could just look it up, I guess. What is it called again?
Mac Studio.
All right, Google. Let's do this. Show me your secrets.
So one of the things that they announced with this Mac Studio is that it will be using a new type of their M1 chip.
Okay.
There is a version of this which uses the M1 Ultra.
Oh, now I see what's going on. Oh yeah, that thing. You're like the main computer itself is what you're talking about, and that thing is tiny.
Yeah, I mean it's it's a 7x7x4 box.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Okay, now I understand what you're talking about. All right, I just needed to see it. I just couldn't imagine it in my head. So
But like the top 2/3 of it is just cooler.
Really?
So the big announcement that comes from this is that
you're right. They even show the ventilation on the back, and
Yeah.
it's the majority of the box.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That is all cooler.
So this computer is basically like a flash drive with a cooler built into it. Kind of.
It's the same. It's some for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple months ago, they announced the 16-inch, this 14 and 16-inch MacBook with the M1 Max and M1 Pro. This was a higher core count processor.
It says 20 core to 64 core.
Okay, slow down.
I'm confused too. I'm looking at a picture and it's like 20 core to 64 core.
Okay, so the M1 Max chip has anywhere from 10 to 16 cores in it.
Okay.
That's CPU cores. They're both 24 core GPUs. The M1 Ultra is basically two M1s soldered together side by side. Two M1 Maxes soldered together side by side. So yeah, it's a from 20 to 32 core processor with 48 GPU cores and all this other fun stuff. And yeah, it looks stupid.
Huh.
This computing power, this type of computing power is just dumb.
Yeah, I'm like looking at a picture that's basically listing off all of the stuff going on with this thing, and it's kind of crazy and overwhelming, to be honest.
Okay, this is the kind of crazy and overwhelming that Apple over engineers. This is Apple getting too deep in the weeds and not necessarily releasing something that is incredibly useful. They did it 2 years ago.
What do you mean by not useful? Like, do you think that it's like all this power, but not actually going to be utilized for anything?
Okay, Apple computers Apple computers like the Mac Pro and this Mac Studio.
Yeah,
have a tendency to run into diminishing returns. There's a lot of horsepower behind these machines, but outside of very, very, very corner use cases, is any of it ever utilized? But that doesn't stop them from making it, and it doesn't stop them from charging $4,000 for that shit.
Yeah.
Like it's pure unobtainium, and it's just like that. Look, I mean, did you see the price tag on the Mac Studio?
I did not. Hold on. Let me see if I can see if they.
I mean, you can just go to apple.com/Mac-Studio. Okay, so the price tag, the version with the just the normal M1 Max starts at $2,000. That's not bad. That's the 10 core, 24 core GPU, 16 Neural engine, 32 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs storage. As far as high-end workstations go,
right,
that's acceptable.
The lowest, it looks like the lowest price one from what I can see, and I'm on the official Macs website. It says from, which means the lowest possible price would be
$199.99.
Yeah, $1,999.
Yeah, $1,999. Yes, that is the smallest one.
Mm-hmm.
You can upgrade it a little bit.
Sure.
You could change a few things. You can configure it and get that price up. The Ultra SKU starts at $4,000.
Right.
Has 64 gigs of memory, 1 terabyte storage. You got some just a bunch of unneeded stuff.
Mm-hmm.
$4,000. Apple is selling to 3 people.
Their target audience is a audience of 3. They filled all the seats.
Legit. With the product like the M1 Ultra, this design that this machine that they decided to put the M1 Ultra in, the way they want you to use the way that they envision you using it is very limited.
Right.
It's ARM, and because it's an ARM type processor.
I thought you were about to say because it's at the price of an arm and a leg.
Okay, no, it's an ARM type processor. That actually kind of limits what its usefulness truly can be.
Yeah,
because 95% of the world is x86 based processors. So a lot of people design their software for x86 and not ARM.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's Apple, not a lot of people have designed for Apple outside of Apple. That being so that $4,000, that's just they sell them to Pixar.
Okay. Well, I mean, actually that's probably the legitimate, most reasonable place to be selling it to.
Yeah, that is the company that can use the full power on one of these devices.
Yeah.
If they have the software, to leverage it.
Sure.
All the other creative things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of that can run on the $2,000 computer.
Right.
But actually what it ends up actually being is it runs on the $2,000 laptop with a secondary monitor attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
that's what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to, maybe they're just like, you know what? Well, why don't we just make something that is specifically designed for large scale computer based businesses of some sort or something?
Apple does not need that.
All right.
If so, Mac OS is actually pretty good software. All things considered.
Maybe you were right when you said also that they just wanted to do it for the sake of doing it, you know?
And that's kind of it.
Yeah. Proof of concept.
It's proof of concept. The problem is Apple doesn't need another $4,000 computer. What Apple needs is the MacBook Air to not cost $1,000. Apple needs the MacBook Air to come in at about $750, $800. Because the MacBook Air, sadly, competes with the $500 to $700 HPs and Dells that you could buy at Walmart, because the software isn't there to leverage all of the benefits of being an ARM-based SoC. Apple needs the MacBook Air they need a version of the MacBook Air to be about $750. And to be perfectly honest, the Mac Mini should be $500.
Well, do you think they'll change it in that direction in the future? No. Okay. All right.
No. Back when Apple went off the Motorola PowerPC and went to Intel, one of the benefits of that was supposed to make the Macs cheaper, because they could buy enough Intel processors on bulk to build their machines to where they could probably get their prices down.
Right.
That never happened.
Maybe they just want it that way, you know? I mean, like we said before, like, yeah, Matt, like it. A part of it is just branding too, though. We've talked about that. Like, I mean, you know, they're not just, you know, you want to be that hipster sitting in a Starbucks all day with a MacBook sitting in front of you. You know what I mean? So, I
Yeah,
mean, they're
yeah, I
fine with
understand.
that.
Okay, they're fine with that. The problem is if they want to be able to, with a straight face, sell you the $5,000 computer, the $5,000 laptop or workstation replacement, they need better software to leverage their processor. The only way that they're going to get that is by getting their M1 processor in the hands of more consumers.
Mm-hmm.
If the Mac line had a bigger share of the market, companies like Adobe would actually design M1 native versions, or wouldn't be dragging their balls trying to get a native version of the ARM SoC native version of Adobe Creative Cloud.
Right.
Right now, it's running in an x86 emulator mode called Rosetta, which causes a performance hit,
Right.
and not an insignificant one. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of your Mac users are Adobe users. The fact that it's been 2 years and Adobe still hasn't released native software for the new Macs, that looks bad. Because Mac users are some of Adobe's best customers, and most of Apple's users are Adobe users.
Mm-hmm.
Premiere is a lot easier to use than Final Cut.
I mean, I use, you know, Adobe products, so I mean, you know,
Yeah. As I said,
just don't
Adobe
use Mac. That's all.
Adobe is way easy. Adobe is way easier to use than Final Cut.
Their software is just better. Like, I mean, as a person who uses it to edit my stuff, I mean, they're like, I use Photoshop now, and I use Premiere, and I can definitely say that, yeah, their software is top notch stuff. I mean, I've worked with
for what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, because I've used plenty of other programs that are supposed to do something similar to Photoshop and Premiere, and I mean, there's still some that I stand by pretty solidly, but nothing on the power level of what Adobe does so far.
Nothing does everything Adobe does.
Yeah,
and nothing has kind of Adobe's like Adobe actually makes a pretty decent UI. The only thing that I know that I use that comes close to Photoshop is GIMP. And GIMP's UI is just
yeah. Before I got into Photoshop and Premiere, I was using GIMP before Photoshop, and Photoshop is actually, I like it more than GIMP. Like, at first it was intimidating and scary, but once I learned the basics, I actually prefer it over GIMP now.
Oh no, Photoshop is well superior to GIMP. GIMP's UI is trash, and it's gotten worse.
Yeah, really, that's surprising.
Oh yeah, GIMP's new UI is terrible.
Here's what I will say though, as a person who uses Premiere for a lot of video editing now, especially my more higher quality video editing, I still use another video editing program. But what I usually do is I usually will do some basic editing through the other program and then finish it up in Premiere for the final touches.
Right.
But a lot of that is just because I'm more accustomed to the other program than I am Premiere. Like, it's just a learning experience.
So my biggest complaint about Apple is always that their price to entry is always way too high, and it's that price to entry, or that barrier to entry, which is what's causing some Mac OS to not see the kind of gains that the iPhone did.
Mm-hmm.
People want to use Macs. Back to that discussion I had about users in my company and people who are free to choose their own computers.
Yeah.
The only reason they're choosing Macs is because they're not paying for it.
Sure.
They get a free computer on us, and they all want to use Macs, and they figure this is probably the only chance they're gonna get to it. So a lot of them have been ordering Macs. And actually, kind of the sick thing is that 14-inch MacBook that we're ordering for them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that 14-inch MacBook that we're ordering them like for $2,000.
Yeah.
We typically used to be able to find HP laptops at 16 to 18.
Mm-hmm.
Now the only MacBooks that we can find, now the only HP laptops we can find are the 19 to 21. So and that is if we can find them at all. 4 out of the 5 MacBooks that we order have gotten to us within a month.
Okay.
And I have been sitting waiting on HP notebooks for 3 months. So, I mean, just a change of the times. But if Apple were to just, and the thing is like, first of all, I don't believe that they could probably make a cheaper iPhone than the SE. Mm-hmm. That kind of stays true to the iPhone design. Mm-hmm. However, they can make a Mac. They could probably sell the current Mac Mini at $499.99. I'm pretty sure, without a doubt, if they sold the current Mac Mini at $499.99 and the current MacBook Air at $699.99, mm-hmm. that they would have a hard time keeping those devices on the shelves.
Yeah. No.
Because I think people, because let's be perfectly honest. Yeah, you could buy a $400 HP from Walmart. Mm-hmm. Do you really trust it?
I mean, I don't know. I've never bought a computer at a Walmart before.
Okay. I mean, the thing is okay, so if a new car costed you $7,000, mm-hmm. would you trust it?
Oh, 7,000. I mean, I don't know because I'm not a car person, but
on average, every make, model, brand, their low-end entry level vehicle mm-hmm. costs somewhere around 16.
Okay.
So if there was a car company that had a brand that they were selling at less than half of everybody else's entry model, do you honestly trust it?
I mean, I guess not. I don't know.
Okay. Most people wouldn't.
Okay.
Most people know that certain things have to cost certain things.
Right.
Video game consoles. Everybody's kind of used to the fact that their video game console should probably, if it's not, that the Xbox or PlayStation probably should cost them around $450. Mm-hmm. That's the going price. That's the going price MSRP of a PlayStation.
Okay.
If somebody sold you a Schmation 5 for, it's a game console, kind of like a Chinese rip knockoff, but it was only $300. But it was new and it was only $300. But supposedly played PlayStation games. Mm-hmm. Would you turn this thing? Would you trust that thing to not ignite? Would you trust it not to ignite on your countertop?
Like just spontaneously combust?
Yeah, a $200 Xbox. If somebody sold you an Xbox that was $200, would you trust it? Would you trust it to power on And if it powered on for more than 3 minutes, do you trust it not to catch on fire?
Okay, how much do the consoles normally go for? I don't keep track of console prices because I'm not a console kiddie anymore. So, like, what is an Xbox like $600? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
$500 on an Xbox and PlayStation.
$500. So if I bought one on a discount of $200 as pre-used, I would assume that it's
new,
brand new $200.
Brand new, off-brand. So it's not a Microsoft Xbox, but it's Xbox like
shipped from China. Shipped from China.
Xbox compatible. Shipped from Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan. Okay, you know what? I don't expect it to suddenly spontaneously combust, but I would expect that it's going to advertise to me that it's got over 999,000 games. And only 5 of those 999,000 games are actually real games.
No. It's an Xbox. You put Xbox discs in it, and it plays Xbox games.
Okay. Sure, I'd buy it for $200. Whatever. I mean, if I've got money that I can just throw, if I could just throw $200 at it.
So if this device catches your house on fire,
I'm going to sue Kazakhstan.
Okay.
I'm going to contact the warranty manager and expect an explanation and possibly a refund.
Okay.
I will get the mayor of Kazakhstan on the phone and personally ask him to figure this out for me.
Okay, so you are not most people. Most people realize certain things cost certain amount of money.
Sure.
You could buy a computer for less than $500, sure, but it's probably going to die in a year.
Sure.
That's the expectation.
Okay.
But I think if Apple can get closer to that $500, can put a system out closer to that $500 range, I think they might surprise themselves to find out how much their market share grows. And that's my final word on my final rant on Apple. That just they need an everyday consumer product.
Mm-hmm.
Their design philosophies be damned.
Well, I mean, we probably this is a very long one, but I will say it was genuinely interesting to learn and talk with you about it. But we should probably wrap this up. But
yeah.
But I can see you're very passionate about this because we just went on a 2-hour episode discussing it. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I definitely will consider more about shopping for computers and apparently cars and the mayor of Kazakhstan. So
Kazakhstan's a country, right?
You can have a mayor. Kazakhstan, the country, can have a mayor. Listen here.
I'm pretty sure there are cities in Kazakhstan that have mayors.
Yeah, and there's one mayor to rule them all. Just like just like the Lord of the Rings and Sauron, right? The mayor of Kazakhstan.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Shine on, you crazy diamond.
All right, well, we got to wrap this up. I'll say all the normal things. Thank you guys all so much for listening. This was a really informative and interesting episode, and genuinely I did enjoy it because, I mean, I don't get a lot of episodes where I get to stay quiet and Lettuce does most of the talking, but usually they're pretty interesting to me, and I did enjoy learning all the stuff that I learned today, and I hope you guys learned something too about Mac computers. So thank you for being here. And I'm going to say all the normal things, which is like, comment, and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up. I super appreciate it, which is the like, which means I said it twice. But please do it twice if you have the capability. Don't unlike it. Just hit the like. Do it twice. Go into another episode of the Imaginary Boys, like that one if you haven't liked it. Like all my stuff. Just hit that like button, okay? Go in the description below. Check out all the wonderful links. PayPal, Streamlabs, all donations are greatly appreciated. Check out the Teespring merch as well. There's a lot of new cool things in there. Go check it out. Wonderful shout out to the amazing Patreon members, which include Bo Falcon, Fajuk Enterprises, James P.,
Miss Rebecca, Scorpageist, as well as Helfer Gamers. Thank you guys so much for your regular support. Greatly appreciated. And we have been the Imaginary Boys. Good night, everybody.
Sexy man.
What does Marcel Wallace look like?